Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community is a nonprofit organization that's committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles to people throughout the world. Today, we have Marina Galan with us, and I am always just so happy to hear anything that she has to share. She's going to talk about, are we really just looking for a feeling? Marina Galan works with people and organizations in different parts of the world, sharing her understanding of the human mind. She lives in Querétaro, Mexico, I hope I said that right, with her three sons. And you can learn more about Marina at www.marinagalan.com. I'll also post that underneath the video on YouTube. So thank you so much, Marina, for joining us today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's always such an honor and such a pleasure and such a nerve-wracking experience to be here. But hey, that's what we're here for, right? Just be vulnerable and get on with it. So the reason why I chose to spoke about this in particular, are we really just looking for a feeling, was because somehow, since the beginning of my tumbling upon the understanding of the principles, it sounded true, but I didn't know why. And so I didn't really know if it was true. And I kept hearing all these things like the information is in the feeling, and what you're looking for is a feeling. And the feeling is the one thing that will guide you. And stay with the feeling and find a good feeling and give it away. And there seemed to be like a lot of pointing towards feelings. And yes, it did sound true, but I didn't really get it. And I couldn't really explain it when someone asked me about it. And then a few weeks ago, you know how you just open yourself to it and suddenly you see the answer? In the most unexpected way, someone asked me, so when did you start searching? How did your search begin? How did you come into the path of the search? And I've heard this question a million times, and I have asked this question a million times too. And I started answering it, saying, the story, because of course, depending on what you understand by the search in the moment is where you can actually place the beginning of it. And for the first time, I kind of really went back and I started saying, well, I developed insomnia when I was 16 and I started reading like crazy. And then I stumbled upon all these wonderful authors that just sparked my curiosity and I couldn't get enough of them. And maybe that was when I started searching. But as I was answering that, I noticed just how shallow that answer was, just how it was the rational answer that my mind was bringing forward. And so I actually told the person, you know what, just hold on a second. Let me just stay with this for a moment. And I asked the question inside again. And to my surprise, what came up, what was brought to me, was an image of myself as a very, very little girl, sitting up on the roof of the house where I used to live, the house where I grew up. And there was this space that it had like walls. It was almost completely closed. So that if you sat inside it, you had this one strip of sky that you could see. And it was completely blue and you could see like clouds float by or, every once in a while a plane. And what came with that image was such a strong feeling of everything is okay. And it was really strange because then I remembered that the reason why I used to go up to the roof of my house was to hide. Whenever there was trouble at home, whenever my parents were screaming or my brothers had gotten in trouble for some reason, whenever there was some disturbance, I would just go up to the roof and hide. And it struck me that the feeling was so strong and that I was looking for that. But there was nothing in a rooftop with a strip of sky that you can see stuff going through that had any validity to teach me that everything was okay, that everything was all right. And so it became very evident that what I was looking for was a feeling. And not only that, but also the fact that I already knew how to look for the feeling. I didn't have to make up a story or a strategy or anything that would make it about it, that would make the feeling about that particular thing. It was just so intuitive, so immediate. So I started wondering about that. And what I realized, later in my story, somehow I developed a belief that that feeling had to be found in some sort of information that an expert should have given at some point in history. And then I started looking for the information that would bring the feeling of everything's okay, of you are okay, or any variation on that theme. And I really saw for the first time that the feeling could not be contained in the information, but that it was the other way around. There is no amount of information that can make me feel everything is okay, that can be the ultimate proof that everything is okay. But the feeling can give me that information. And because truth is self-evident, when the feeling gives me that information, I don't need to corroborate it with any external information out there, with any expert's opinion. And it made me wonder how lost we get when we think that the feeling will come from a piece of information. How much information we are looking for out there. And it's never enough. It's just never enough. So I started observing the world around me, especially my children, just to figure out just how natural, how innate it was in them to look for the feeling, to find ways in which they could find the feeling. How it had nothing to do with a rational knowledge. How it had nothing to do with a personal story. It is just the way the system is designed. We look for the feeling all the time, consciously or unconsciously. It's just what we do. That's it. And I started noticing that one of them, as soon as he feels unstable or disturbed in any way, he makes it about being okay with me. And he comes to me and he says, "Are we okay? Do we have a problem? Is there anything we should be talking about?" And another one, as soon as he's disturbed, he goes into a book, but not because he will find something in the book, but because the act of sitting down and getting lost in a book immediately triggers that feeling again in him. And how another one of them knows to go out for a walk. And sometimes they know to take a shower or a bath or go play with the dog or call a friend. And it's been such a beautiful discovery to see how immediate it is, how inevitable it is, and how pure the guidance is, and how easily they get confused around it and they make it into something. They turn it into something else. That has allowed me to point them back to seeing that, just so that they can see just how natural it is, so that they can see how easily we confuse our way to get the feeling back. And from there, what followed from seeing all this was I stayed with that thing Sid used to say, find a good feeling and give it away. And I started wondering, what does that mean, give it away? Do I share the good feeling? Do I, it was like, I don't know what giving it away means. And I started observing again and just allowing life to inform me about it. I don't think I have finished seeing yet. I am still seeing through this question. I am still living with it. But what I have seen so far is that the giving it away bit might just be the do not turn it into something bit. Find a good feeling and then stop there. Don't make it into something else. Whatever your mind, because it is inevitable, your mind will make up something about it. Yes, it was the walk in the woods. Yes, it was the hot bath. It was the scent of the bubbles, right? Or the thickness of the page of the book. As soon as you turn it into something, that good feeling, give it away and open yourself to it again. So yes, share it with others. And yes, refrain from the temptation of holding on too strong to any rational idea your mind makes up about it. And every time it does, just let it go again. Because making it into something is what will inevitably take you away from it. It will start leading you away. And in that second, it is not the feeling guiding you anymore. And then the third step of this whole exploration that has been, opening up for me has been, well, if wisdom is inevitably guiding us, every single one of us, all the time, towards a good feeling, what is wisdom up to? Why? Why is it guiding us there? Why will that bring? And as obvious as it may seem, I had never seen it before connected to the feeling so much, and why the importance of keeping it in the feeling. As long as you are in that feeling, because everything is okay, and because you are okay within everything and with everything, you respond to that everything from a place of wisdom and stillness that must bring something good, like Sid said. It must. And whatever good can come from that must be good for everything, not just for me, not just for this moment, not just from my rational understanding, but from a way deeper place that has nothing to do with my possible lostness in the moment or whatever I am making up about it, but from the guidance of wisdom itself. again, I don't know how this will keep evolving. I will keep you guys posted. But somehow, boiling it down to the feeling, decanting it down to the feeling, and seeing just how inevitable that guidance is once you understand it, has made it all so unbelievably simple, so self evident. I guess I am leaving out the invitation for each and every one of you to just tune into that and maybe look at your life at all the ways in which you naturally search for it, how you are naturally guided to it, and how inevitable it is to make up something about it. And again, the value, the immense value of giving it away every single time and coming back to the feeling. I hope it sparks beautiful things in you. Thank you.
Hey, Marina.
Hi, Claudette.
Hi. Hi. I really appreciate what you're saying and how you articulated it, because I know for myself, the feeling has been really alive in me for the past several months, I think, and coming back to what is it, where is, not where is the feeling coming from, but what is the feeling, because what comes from up here is qualitatively different than what comes from, than the feeling from a deeper intelligence or wisdom in me. And sometimes my mind is not settled enough to, or my system, nervous system isn't calm enough to really differentiate between the two. And what I know is that eventually I will be able to feel the difference, and to just wait it out, to see. But but I'm finding what you're saying is, has been my experience, is true in my experience. So um, I appreciate what you're saying, and also along with that, for me, one of the questions that I'm really exploring is, where is something coming from? You know, like what place is a choice or a decision coming from? Because again, what I'm finding, being guided by the feeling, is that a choice or a decision from a place of wisdom has a different feel than a choice or a decision that comes from my intellect. Um, yeah. So.
One of the questions that this exploration has sparked recently has been, you know how they talk about personal mind and impersonal mind, and
Mm-hmm.
personal thought and impersonal thought?
Mm-hmm.
That has made me wonder if there is personal feeling and impersonal feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a way, we want we want to find a way to describe it that is so deep and so absolute and so undeniable as the feeling itself is,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so when I hear Sid speak about before the contamination of,
Mhm.
it seems to me that that feeling, call it whatever you want to feel it, you know,
Mhm.
okayness with everything, oneness, whatever it is, that feeling must be before the contamination of.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't know if this is true. As I said, this
Mhm.
is just one of the explorations that has been sparked.
Yeah.
But there seems to be something to the non-personal nature of it.
Mhm.
You, well, I don't know. When I find myself in that feeling, when I
Mhm.
suddenly fall into that feeling, none of the personal matters. All of the personal becomes just like, you know, the surface of the water, the wavy
Mhm.
thing that the wind is causing, but there is nothing else.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, Marina. Yeah.
Yes?
It
Good.
does to me. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it does
I'm
to me.
glad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, if there is an impersonal feeling prior to the contamination of the personal mind, what the image that comes to mind for that is like, you know, like a blank page that you can draw on with ink, and you can draw, you know, butterflies and unicorns and bees and everything beautiful, and you can also draw monsters and, I don't know, thunderstorms or whatever scares you. But before the contamination, before the ink, you are left with the blank page. So it is not personal. It's just the source.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Source before I. Yes, before I, and everything I implies,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But I would never ever dare to call that feeling mine, like I would my anger or my sadness, or like it has such a personal taint to it. You know, it's just so personal. And this doesn't seem to be coming from me. It's just before,
Mhm.
behind, under. I don't know. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's what makes the other stuff possible.
Yeah.
It's the canvas.
Mm. Mm.
And of course, because I cannot go backwards, cannot go before itself, it is looking for that forward. It is looking for that through a process of whatever I can do. I don't know what that is, rational, non-rational. I don't know what that is, but it is looking to find it through what it does, through what it creates,
Yeah.
through the processes it can do, make, have.
Mm.
But it's in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but I mean, to me, that really makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm glad it makes sense. I'm really glad
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Marina.
Hi, Terry.
Yes, Terry. I love what you just said. That you wouldn't. I think this is how you said it. That you wouldn't dare to claim the space, the impersonal space.
Hmm.
I love that because, like, it's in the not claiming it that there's such freedom there. Now, once we're in the personal space and we claim everything there, like as like we own everything there, then it's like it becomes, you know, our duty or responsibility to do something with it, to, you know,
Even
mess
keep
with
it.
it and
Yes.
manipulate it. It's like it's mine.
Hang on to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the the impersonal space is not ours to claim. And there's such freedom there.
Yeah. What? Yes. Isn't that giving it away? Who is giving it away? Well, I
Yeah.
am using to make it mine. I am
Yeah.
setting it free again.
Yeah. Anyway, that just hit me. I love that. I love the way you worded that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
I love the way you worded it. Thank you, Jerry.
Hi, Marina.
Hi, Deb. Oh, so good to see you.
You too. Mostly, I just wanted to say hi.
Hi.
I had a little thought. I was just reading something last night about how hard it is to speak about something that is not self when all we really have is self. So we're like using self to try to explain something that's completely outside of just our, the wordless. And that's how I feel about what you're pointing to. It's just
It is bonkers, Deb. It is completely crazy because suddenly we are using the self to dissolve the self.
Yeah.
And it can't be done from there, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was reading a couple of days ago something so beautiful, Deb. I will send it to you, but I'm going to try to share it with you guys. This guy had been asking a group of people, about their gifts, what their gifts were. And everybody was trying to, find gifts that came from that came from the personal.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman came back the next day and she shared an experience that she had when she was, I think, 7 or 6. And she had walked outside her house. She was standing on the porch and she saw the moonlight hitting the grass and hitting the porch in such a unbelievably beautiful way that she had gone back to school the next morning and she had claimed that her natural gift was looking at the moon, looking at the moonlight.
And that's truth.
And that's truth. And so it's such an interesting question. What are the natural gifts? And so by natural, it's like before the personal. What are the natural gifts that you are not there to develop, grow, harvest, deepen, however you want to name it, find? What are the natural gifts? And there seems to me like there is such a sense of guidance back to truth, guidance back to source, guidance back to the feeling in those. Because I can imagine the little girl, looking at the moonlight, hitting all this and being completely transported out of herself and before the personal and just being like one with everything through the moonlight.
And isn't it so cool that we all have that? There's nothing unique about it. It's not a unique gift, it's a universal gift.
It is. And it shows up in a myriad different ways, but it always points to the same one thing. No?
Awesome.
I've been stuck for a few months now with this image of a mirror bending upon itself to know itself, to see itself, and how the second it bends upon itself and faces itself, you have endless reflections. And every single one of those reflections points back to the mirror. But the essence of the reflection is still the mirror.
Wow.
No?
Fascinating. Well, and then, but where's the self in that then? Where's the origination of the image? I don't know if it matters. But...
I don't know if it matters. But in the end, you're just left with a mirror, regardless of what it's facing or what it's, portraying, or all the possible reflections that you can find.
And there's something in there for me about the space. So if all that's left is the mirror, and then it's the space. I don't know.
Yeah. And somehow, well, everything is contained within the mirror, and the act of looking at itself and knowing itself and everything that comes from there. But it is never outside. There is nothing else.
Crazy.
Yeah, I like how, I remember a conversation I had with my mother. I must have been 14 years old, and we were talking about, before there were mirrors, yes, there were ponds that you could see yourself reflected in, but how the only true reflection you could find was the other. Like, you get to know yourself through the reflection of what you are not. So you go out of yourself and you have this grand tour of finding out everything that you look for yourself everywhere, and then you find everywhere that you're not. And that necessarily brings you back to.
Only if you accept that that's what you're not, at least for me.
Right. And so in a way, it's not about, cutting the head of the reflection off, because it's it's not true, and it's just a reflection. It's about learning to see the mirror through the reflection, or via the reflection, thanks to the reflection, but how necessary the reflection is to point us back to. It is such a gift. And in a way, I have found that in every tradition there is some sort of variation on the process is already complete. We're just remembering. So we don't need to get anywhere. We are already there. The process is complete. This is just a remembering. And that kind of makes you wonder, well, why is the remembering necessary if the process is already complete? To me, what that points to is there seems to be a difference between innocence and consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Well, my tradition definitely teaches that.
Right? Mm-hmm. So somehow the mirror bending upon itself is going from innocence to consciousness, going from the process already being complete to a recognition of what is. And experience seems to be the way between one and the other, no? All those reflections, just experience. Endless possibilities of it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Deb. I miss you. Sometimes the feeling feels so, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but it's like, okay, I got the feeling, everything is all right. Now what? Now what do we do? Now what's next? And we miss the opportunity of just resting in it. And touching that feeling, being in that feeling, resting in that feeling, staying in that feeling must be transformative in and out of itself. It must shed everything that is not from us. It must. Hi, Anthony.
Hi there. I said I'll put my 2 cents here and probably get your guidance somehow. So I definitely resonate with what you said. Can you hear me a little clearly? Because okay, perfect. Okay, so I resonated definitely with what you said, and I'm going more towards the feeling and really definitely sensing when I'm not in a good feeling and gradually saying, hey, let go, let go. This is, there is an answer to this supposedly problem that you're currently in. But whereas before I used to jump in like head first, it's, I'm a troubleshooter, so I'll just go in and try and say that, I can figure it out. But recently, and probably for the last year, I've sort of stepped back, and I found it much more comfortable with the answers or solutions I came up with once I let go. And I found that, and normally it was when I said, hey, this is not my problem currently. I'll just let the universe help me out with this and leave it, go for a walk, or come back to it after a little while. And normally I get to a solution within a day or so, and I'm quite happy with that. And the feelings with that too is that whenever I'm in a much more relaxed, less confrontational sort of mode, which is what you get when you're dealing with people, or you try to feel that you're negotiating your way out of something, or you're trying to solve sort of a problem that they think that you need to fix. And so I definitely resonate with the whole concept, and I'm gradually letting go of things that are not within my current control or my current mental state. It's definitely cognitively. And I say, hey, I'll figure this out. I'll come back with a solution to step forward. Whereas before I would just go head first in it and sort of waste like hours trying to figure things out. So definitely love that. So, and I definitely agree with you with having a good feeling about it, and resonate with what Sid used to say. And so it definitely helps. The question is sometimes there are certain things I know the solutions for, and I still jump straight into it. And so sometimes it's probably not the best thing. It's probably just to put on my coaching mode, or rather than going into trying to fix other people's problems, and step away from it. And I think that's where I find myself falling into sometimes, because I come from a corporate mindset, or a problem shooter and a fixer, and I sometimes fall back into it. So I think I need to wean myself out of that and be more like somebody who guides people into their own wisdom and figure out things for themselves. So that's just my 2 bits on it, and really appreciate the conversation. And there's definitely some way for me to go into looking into the situation, or at least the feelings.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Is it okay if I comment on your 2 cents?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. That's the whole point.
Because I used to have a lot of that, like, I know what needs to be done, and I would just jump into it. And, you know, even if I didn't, it was like, well, this seems the best option, so let's go for it. And I think parenting teaches you a lot. And I realized that me doing that was exactly the same as when, you know, my kid was trying to pour the water on the glass, and he was going to, you know, pour it all over the place, and I jumped in to do it right. And I realized that that behavior, well, on one hand, did not allow the child to actually develop whatever he needed to develop, but on the other hand, it kept me from developing a trust in the child. It made it impossible for me to develop a trust in the child. And I started wondering if that was happening with life as well. If my jumping in was hindering my trust in life somehow. And so I started doing experiments like, well, what happens if I know the solution, but I don't do anything about it, and I wait, and let's see what life does with it. And what I found was that most of the time, the problem would just go away without me needing to do anything about it. There was no solution necessary. But then when there was, you know, life would solve it so elegantly and so gracefully, so much better than what I could have done. You see, and so in a way, it's, imagine that the child is life. It knows everything. It knows so much more than you. Because it does not only know everything you know, it knows everything you don't know. Right? And what that seemed to bring as well was a sense of, oh, right, decisions are being made. I'm just being informed of them. You see? Life is happening, and it's going to happen with or without me. I don't know if you've ever been like very, very sick in the hospital for a very long time, Anthony. I hope you haven't, but I have. And it's so amazing to just witness everything that happens. You know, life goes on without you. Things work out without you somehow. And mostly what didn't need to. And the other thing it has brought has been a beautiful, humbling clarity around when I need to do something, when something needs to be done through me. But again, there is such a lack of personal weight on it. It just needs to be done. It has nothing to do with me. Like the train is going to hit the child, like the child needs to be removed. It has nothing to do with me being a hero or not, or it just needs to be done. It's so self-evident. But again, it's from a non-personal, non-preference.
Yeah. I love that. I have 2 boys, and I find that that same thing of me trying to jump in, trying to help them with certain things, and now I've learned to step back because they're 2. One is better physically and sports wise, can sort of do it like, and the other one feels sort of let down and feels unable, and I try to motivate him here, and sometimes I say, you know, I should step back. I let the 2. I tell the other one, you know, help your brother to get to this thing, because I don't want him to sort of feel let down, or at least not capable of meeting that challenge. So yeah, I definitely resonate with you, and sometimes, you know, he overdid the skipping yesterday and pulled a muscle. Didn't get to school today. I had to call the school this morning. And I said, "Oh wow, okay, right. I should step back and let him." He probably learned from that. And I gave him some guidance as to,
There you go.
do it in a shorter style. He was obviously trying to compete with his brother who did the 150 skips in like 3 minutes, and I said, "Oh," I didn't even expect him to do that in 2 days or whatever. So I totally resonate with what you're saying, and it's a learning experience, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying, because in so many ways, life just keeps showing us that the teaching comes from her, not from us. The lessons are up to her and not up to us.
Yeah.
We are just companions. We just get to love them through whatever life is teaching them.
Right.
And what a privilege that is. And
That's
how graceful and easy it becomes when we remain in that impersonal feeling.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
It's been great meeting you.
I'm sure.
Thank you
definitely.
for being here.
Thank you.
Hi, Marina again. I love that. I love that metaphor of, wanting to jump in there and do for your children. And what that does is it impedes the process of learning to trust them. And what it made me think about is times when working with clients where they touch that impersonal space, like they feel the vastness of that impersonal space. This just happened this morning. And then almost like instantly, or certainly within a few minutes, it's like, well, what do I do now? And it's like the brain wants to get back in there and, start meddling and controlling and messing with, because I don't know, I guess it's a foreign place to be in. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So I love looking at it through that lens of every little glimpse you have of that impersonal space where you're not in control is an opportunity to trust life.
There you go. That's beautiful, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's
Yeah.
an opportunity to surrender again.
Yeah. And to see
Surrender
how
everything.
safe you are.
Yeah.
How completely and totally safe and taken care of you are.
Absolutely. And it keeps showing you. It just keeps showing you over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
Over and over and over again. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that metaphor. I love that.
Yeah, somehow it points us back to, a new possibility if you actually do understand that it has your back. Because again, we learn to trust life, and we learn to trust the universe, and it will bring the responses, and da 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 da. And we seem to just on and on separate ourselves from life and from wisdom and from the universe. It's like us and that, and how that works for me, or how that works through me. And we constantly miss the point that we are the fabric of it. Like we are intertwined with life, with the universe, we are the same thing. So when I think Anthony was saying, because it's my problem, right? It is a personal problem. Yeah, well, but you're not just you. You're not you. You're like this. So It's life's problem. It's the universe's problem. How on earth is it not going to respond? How on earth is it not going to bring guidance? It must. And you know, when suddenly you start seeing that, it becomes much less about trusting something, and it becomes much more about giving what you know away, giving yourself away, offering yourself up for something way larger that is already going on. Does that make sense, Terry? Yeah. And relaxing around what we know and giving away what we know is the one thing that can keep us up open. That's it. You refuse to claim it. It's an offering off. That is an offering. You see? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's huge.
You never know what's the deal going to be, you know. I bring
Yeah.
everything I know and I offer it, but you never know what you're going to get in return.
Yeah, it's the refusing to claim it
Yeah.
that's so huge.
Yes. It's the giving it away that keeps you open.
Yeah.
You know, and I have found that second bit of what Sid said, you know, find a good feeling and give it away, essential, because that is how you empty yourself to be filled up again. Emptying needs to happen in order for filling up to happen.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Terry.
Nina, did you mean to unmute yourself? We can hear you if
Sorry about that.
Teresa of Avila, one of the mystics. I am saying this because it's a way of going back to when you find yourself in the feeling, just rest, just be there. Don't, okay, now what? Don't run away from it. Don't. And so Teresa of Avila was asked, what is it that you do during prayer? And her answer was, I just allow myself to be loved. And we have no idea of the power of that. Allowing ourselves to be loved. Have you ever wondered what could come from that? We're so used to thinking about what loving can bring, you know. I love and I get to love and I bring down the walls that I have built up against love. And yeah, that also implies allowing love in and allowing yourself to be loved. And doesn't it sound like a cool experiment? Okay, just for today, I will allow myself to be loved by life. And let's see what happens. If us, tiny little us, loving is so transformational, such a game changer, what would happen if we allowed ourselves to be loved? Just by allowing the feeling to overcome us, tiny little us. Sounds like so much would fall away. So much would be just washed away. You know, sometimes I think of life as this huge fat river that just wants to take you with it and have you float in absolute bliss down. And we seem to be just hanging on to a little tiny branch on the side. You know, like, I don't deserve this. I haven't worked enough and I haven't suffered enough. And, you know, life just wants you to let go. So what was that? You need to suffer more in order to let go? Okay, let's do that. You see, so it's just like, let go already. What do you need in order to let go? Give it away. Just give it away. Stay in the feeling. It has everything you need. So yes, we are looking for a feeling, but it's not really we. Everything is looking for that feeling, and it happens through us. And it's the most miraculous thing, because it happens with or without us. But when it happens with us, then there is collaboration with life. Absolute collaboration with the inevitable. Anthony de Mello said that. Enlightenment is absolute collaboration with the inevitable. And that brings up quite a few questions, no? What is the inevitable? And what is collaboration? And what is absolute? And living the question, Anthony, because you find answers, but oh my God, when you find a question worth living, that keeps you open. When you give away every single answer that comes and you remain in the question. Maybe then, like Kafka used to say, life offers itself and places itself at your feet. It must. Hi, Gail.
Hello. I'm relatively new to Three Principles, but this spoke to me as a, do I really know what this feeling is? But so much of what you've spoken of in the last just 15 minutes has touched me a lot. And that whole question of, can I surrender to life? Having been somebody who's been addicted to doing life and actually quite driven in myself, which is a huge thing going on at the moment, is catching myself in that mode and going, well, can I stop and just let myself settle into stillness and find that place that for me is the feeling at the moment, which just feels still and calm. And then when you said about, can I let myself be loved? That touched something which I touched on this autumn. I woke up one morning with this question, can I let myself be loved? Which really, really touched my heart very deeply. And of course, you cry and the rest of it. And it was like, can I let myself be loved by myself? Not give myself such a hard time. Can I let myself be loved by others as I was starting to engage with a relationship? And you've just added that other layer of, can I let myself be loved by life? Which is a sort of really, really, really lovely. And I guess we're all lives, so in that sense, there's no division. So I just want to say thank you. It's been really helpful to listen in on this and I'd like to listen to it again, just to start to get a feeling. But those two things about, a bit like my question, and I've heard again people talk about, holding a question, and you and Anthony have sort of just elaborated a little bit more about that letting go of my doing mind that's trying to work things out, and just surrender and allow it to be there, would be a useful experiment to be conducting at this time, I think, in my life. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Gail. Yeah. It's so much more interesting to let life explain itself to you than to just try to figure it out. You see so much more when you let it do the work.
Yeah.
And what you were saying, like, can I allow myself to be loved by myself? Can I allow myself to be loved by others? And can I allow myself to be loved by life? And then there seems to be like an amount for each different one. Like, okay, this much for myself, this much for others, this much by life. And then comes the question, like, can I allow myself to be loved completely? Completely. And what would that do? What would that bring? Ooh, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's exciting and terrifying and everything at the same time. And we feel tiny, minuscule in front of that possibility. And yet that is the invitation. That is the birthright. That is the only way. What if the only way to let life work through you is by allowing it to love you completely? What if fully yourself is the only thing that allows life to come fully through you and do whatever it needs to do through you? What if that level of love is required, the surrendering of everything else? And just allowing that one love. Any idea we have about love is limiting. Any. give it away. That seems to be the invitation, Gail.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Bring it
loved
on.
meeting you. Bring it on. Let's see what happens.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
This was such a lovely conversation. Thank you so much, Marina.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah, I just want to ask, do you want to say anything to wrap it up, or do you feel?
Give it away.
Give it
Give
away.
it away. Yeah. Find the feeling and give it away.
Yeah.
In any way, giving it away, whatever that means to you in the moment, just give it away.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks. I do want to let everyone know who's on the webinar that the next one is Monday, the 27th of January at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's with Christine Heath and Dickon Bettinger. So hopefully you can join us live. And
What a treat.
I know.
Yeah.
Great. And the other thing I just want to mention, if in case anyone hasn't heard yet, 3PGC is doing an online conference, and it's going to be something really unique. As far as I know, no one has done anything like this before. We are running an online conference for basically 48 hours straight. So no matter where you are in the world, there will be a talk going on during your waking hours, or if you're an insomniac, during your insomniac hours. But it starts February 28th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So we'll provide a link so you can find your time. And we have over 50 speakers. So hopefully, if you want to learn more about it, you can go to 3PGC, and it's the number 3pgc.org, and learn more about it and see who's speaking. Marina is speaking, and some of the talks will be in other languages. So it's going to be pretty cool. I think it's going to be a pretty cool thing. And when you register, you can not only see any of the talks live, but we're going to record everything, so you'll have access to all the recordings to listen afterwards. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you on that as well. Yeah, thanks so much, Marina, and thanks everybody for joining us live.
Thanks, everyone, really.